Hello, welcome. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I made a hold a little bit ago. It was released, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so. It's called Outings at the Delver. I want to do a commentary on it. I'm going to play through the whole thing and just talk about my thought process for what I was doing when I was making it, and just the story behind each room and stuff like that. So, this is available on Caravelnet. If you don't have Caravelnet, I think you can just download it from the website. I'll put a link in the description to where you can do that. It's a fairly difficult hold from the sounds of it. It's hard for an architect to judge their own hold's difficulty, but yeah, it sounded like people had a little bit of trouble with it. So, you know, it's for advanced players. This is obviously going to spoil all the room solutions and everything, so I'd recommend playing the hold if you plan to play it before watching this. But yeah, maybe I can give some insight into the architectural process, and what it was like to build this thing. This was my first real hold. I did a couple of little test holds. Well, heck, I can show those real quick. I'm not really going to look at each room in here, but I'll just click on them a little bit. This was the very first hold that I built. It's really just this one level of a bunch of kind of unfinished rooms. I don't want to spend time on this. Anyway, so I guess this is just to say that I built a level, and then started on another hold that was kind of had some aesthetic plans for it. I was doing this whole big theming thing. Bithro's starting here and approaching a giant tower from outside. This one hasn't really gone anywhere yet. Right. I just wanted to illustrate that there have been kind of a few false starts before I got to the point where I felt like I could actually build a real hold and have it be decent. Anyway, so, Outings of the Delver. Spend a day with a Delver doing his chosen leisure activities. Draw pictures, visit a theater, care for a pet, and more. Medium-sized hold, mechanical-themed levels that can be played in any order. Okay. Play a new game! Right, so I never actually refer to Bithro by name. You can think of it as Bithro or as another Delver who happens to look like Bithro. Either way. Leisure time, yeah, so this is like Bithro's day off. I guess I'm gonna call him Bithro. That's fine. This level intro text was written kind of late, just kind of fit to the themes of the levels that I happen to make. Choose an activity. So in this hold you can play levels in any order. There aren't a lot of green doors, so you can just do whatever you want pretty much. Beta tester thanks scroll. These were all very helpful. So I should have left this hold in beta for a little bit longer. I learned some things about testing that, yeah, well, I'll get to those when I can show you the actual issues of what went on. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. So I'm going to play the levels in the order that they were made. There are 5 here. I'll just step over these scrolls super quick. And then this one down at the bottom ends the hold. So My Pet Bird is a level about Fagundos and water skippers, and it was the first one that I made. This level hub is pretty small and compact. You'll see a few other rooms in it when I clear levels here. But there was a temporary hub that was kind of similar to this that people seem to like, so I kept the compactness and just prettied it up a little bit. This is kind of like Bithro's house, sort of, but it's also an abstracted representation of it. Anyway, My Pet Bird. So Bithro has a pet Fagundo who likes to eat water skippers. And they have to be water skippers that are stranded on land for him to be able to catch them. So this is a very kind of strongly themed level. And this room sort of sets up the themes. So, in each room there's a structure like this with a water skipper trapped in force arrows. The idea is that this Fagundo, this is Bithro's pet, it never dies. So at the end of each room, the Fagundo is trapped in a place where it's happily eating a water skipper and is not in any danger of dying. So if you've solved the room properly, then there's no way for the Fagundo to die. That was very intentional. So, this is a very simple introductory puzzle, basically just to show how to get a Fagundo to press a pressure plate. I feel like I'm talking very fast. So sorry, I'll try to slow down. Fagundo presses a pressure plate by exploding against something. When a Fagundo is a pile of ash, they're actually on the ground instead of flying, so they can fall down pits, fall in water, and press plates. So just do that, eat the water skipper, get a little bit of dialogue. Beether's happy, Fagundo's happy. Fagundo's still alive and can't die at this point. So on to the next room. So yeah, this was the second room that I built in the entire hold, and kind of a happy accident happened here that sort of set the tone for the entire hold. I put this Roach Queen in. The idea was that, you know, you would fly a Fagundo around being hassled by roach eggs spawning. And, you know, it would just be a simple manage two things at once sort of room. But what ended up happening was that I put this pressure plate here and thought, okay, what would it be like if that was sort of offset a little bit, hard to get to? So this is actually where a lot of players get stuck, and I made many small revisions to this room to try to sort of signpost the way to do it. There are two solutions to this. I'll show both. This road here is supposed to be a big clue. So a player's natural instinct usually is to step in here, step on the power token right away, and start flying the Fagundo. Orb opens that so you can get to the Roach Queen. So yeah, you want to deal with the Roach Queen right away, so Beether is not going to be hassled by it. But if you do that, I'll show you what happens. Whoa, Fagundo dies for one thing. That's not what you want. So I go for the orb. I can get to the Roach Queen. But then here's the problem of not having any way to actually press that plate. I can get the Fagundo here, but I can't explode it against something. So there's basically two ways to do it. The way I intended was that you would not press the power token right away, use the Fagundo as an obstacle, and bring a roach up here. So, actually, wait, how does this work? So the Fagundo is an obstacle that lets me do a roach dance and put one in there. Then with that roach, I can hit the pressure plate, which I'll do after I deal with the queen. And everything's cool. So that's the quick way to do it, the way I meant to have it work. Eat the water skipper, and everything's good. So there's another way. I kind of tried to prevent this from working, but clever players found a way to make it work. So if you do hit the power token early, there's a spot I can park the Fagundo. Let's see, how do I do this? I don't usually do the room this way. You can use a roach flood to eventually get enough in there. You have to put the Fagundo in this spot because otherwise roaches will just die on these hot tiles and not be able to swarm in here. These hot tiles were kind of a late addition to try to prevent this method, but it still works if you do it that way. That Fagundo's gonna die. No, it's not. Not if I do this. So that's the other way to do the room. I kind of liked it, so I left it in, even though I tried to prevent it. I liked the creativity of having to put the Fagundo exactly here. And yeah, it seemed to be about 50-50, maybe not even that. A lot of players seem to find this as the only solution to the room. Apparently not hitting the power token is just a little too obscure. Right, it's easy to get into this situation where you're either going to get killed by roaches or the Fagundo will fall in a pit. So you have to be patient about it. Oops. Alright. Once all that's done, this plays out the same way. Kill roach, kill water skipper, everything's good. Let's see, which room? I'm trying to go kind of in the order that I built the rooms. I think the next one I built was probably this one down here. This room went through a lot of changes. This looks very different from how it was initially. The setup to this, the whole idea is that briars have to grow at the same time as timed with a Fagundo hitting this plate and then this plate. So all the door connections look pretty complicated. I do kind of regret how hard this is to parse, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. If I just send the Fagundo in here without doing anything else, nobody else can get in there because it's surrounded by pits and stuff. Step on the pressure plate. So yeah, there's a theme of Fagundos and water skippers, but there's kind of a sub-theme of putting Fagundos on pressure plates. That theme kind of goes away in some of the later rooms, but that was a thing that I wanted to do. So stepping on that plate closes all these doors, lets the briars grow, these roaches get out. Briars grow a little too quickly, and these plates need to be hit at the same time, because one toggles this door, one toggles this fire trap. Toggling the door cuts the fuse, toggling the fire trap will set off the powder keg unless the timing is perfect. So seeding beacon activates. So what you do here, the reason this water skipper is in the place that it is because there were a lot of solutions that involved killing it with the decoy. Decoy potions. Very powerful. You have to be extremely careful, I found, about using them in any room, because being able to place something in an arbitrary spot, fairly arbitrary, you'll notice there's actually not a lot of floor space here where the decoy can be placed. This extra fused segment is to make sure you can't do this and just light the fuse like that. So yeah, lots of... Right, this trapdoor is here, these trapdoors are here to make sure you can't kill a roach with a decoy. Lots of stuff. So the way this is supposed to work is the caber lets the decoy... Sorry, I should back up. Let me back up a little bit. So since you can't just send the Fagundo directly in here, you need to prune the briars. Pruning a briar here exposes this force arrow, which means the briars cannot grow through here anymore. So this is constrained that you can only prune exactly 2. You have to prune these so the roaches will step out here and then die. Similar sort of thing here. Yeah, this force arrow, this will prevent briar growth from here to here. But since briars can connect there, this is actually fine. It's kind of weird how that works. Yeah, like this side of the force arrow isn't a briar barrier as such, but this side is? Something like that. Let's test that out, actually. So if I prune that many... Yeah, that briar just doesn't grow anymore. So instead, what I want to do is prune these. So then I have a problem. I can count up the number of turns that it'll take for between these 2 plates being hit. So this one is happening 2 turns earlier than the other one, and there's not much you can do with a Fagundo to mess with that. So what you need to do is prune 2 more bits of briar. The way you do that is using the decoy's caber to prevent some briars from being exploded by the Fagundo. Like this. So caber is there, decoy will die, but before it dies, its caber prevents the explosion, and there's 1 extra segment of briar. I felt like this room was not very interesting at first, but I kept messing with it, and it went through many revisions until it finally kinda sorta worked. So those happened at the same time. This toggled twice, fuse got cut, fire trap didn't get activated, and the Fagundo can let me out. So there we go. The room over to the east here was built much later, so I'll hold off on it for a moment. This one. This is very simple. An earlier version of this room had... Let me talk about what the room is first. Wow, okay, so doing Architect's Commentary is actually kind of hard. I feel like I'm not doing a great job of this. Hopefully I'll get better as I go through the hold. Anyway, this room is about... I got hit this orb with the Fagundo. In order to do that, these need to be open. This is about guiding a construct along with a Fagundo, so that the construct hits the good plates, or sorry, the good, wait, which ones? These ones. The multi-use pressure plates are the good ones, the single-use ones just lock Bethro out. And you can't do something tricky where he's on the other side of this door, because he still has to stab this water skipper nest. So right, what I was saying was that an earlier version of this room had some roach queens over here, just sort of hassling Bethro as he was doing his work here, in a similar way to what I wanted to do with this one. I got a suggestion during testing that that didn't really need to be there, it seemed kind of annoying, and I agreed, so I just removed those. The way this level ended up working out is all of the rooms off the main path, actually, only this room and the one immediately to its west have any direct threat to Bethro. Everything else is totally safe. Like, the threats are to the Fagundo, or, you know, other stuff, just not being able to solve the puzzle. Anyway, so, I gotta hit that orb in a specific spot. You have to stand here, so that the orientations will line up. That lets the construct out. Construct walks across shallow water, and using a Fagundo, you can guide it along. Because of construct preferences, and move order and stuff, he stays on the Fagundo as long as Bithro is far enough east. Now, if I were to be over here, the construct would start sliding vertically instead of horizontally, so Bithro's position here actually matters too. Then once you get here, this pressure plate is in the way of getting the construct here to hit this plate. And there's no way to move it back north, he can only go south. So at this point, it's time to sacrifice the construct and have the Fagundo hit the last plate. Bithro can kill the water skipper nest, Fagundo lets him out, and then the Fagundo has a snack. Chomp. Alright, so let's do this one to the south before moving on. You'll notice there's a force arrow here. If you follow where that force arrow points, there's a cracked wall here, but it goes nowhere. So this is a return path from a secret room. I wanted to make the secrets kind of stand out, sort of, but be hard to get into, like not just straining your eyes looking around for a cracked wall someplace. I feel like I was only partially successful in that. So this room, this was built actually after the rest of the level. There are 3 more rooms here and then an exit room. This one, I saw how much trouble testers were having with seeing this initial action to take here. The original idea with this room was it was supposed to be a hint that, hey, Fagundos can be good for stuff other than flying around once you've used a power token. You can actually push them around or use them as obstacles for stuff. This room did not really do the job in illustrating that for this one over here, but I thought it was a cool room, so I kept it in. So there's these 3 very similar structures here. This orb lets out those roaches and opens this. This lets out those roaches and opens that. This lets out those roaches. And closes this. Why? That's weird. I don't think there's any actual point to that, because once I've gone across this trapdoor, I can't come back again. Okay, well, I think that's a vestige from something else that I wanted to do with this room. Anyway, so I'm forced to be disarmed here. The idea is to put the Fagundo in a place where I can do that and be safe. Then yeah, I can walk over the trapdoor, get my stick back, reposition Fagundo to protect from the other roach onslaught, and have just enough time to get here for that. So this is one of those tricky rooms where it looks like you want to take the same action 3 times, but you don't actually, because if I try to do this, there's no way to get those roaches into that place, and Bithro just dies. So what you do instead is a different action. Fagundo goes there. Yeah, Fagundo goes there, blocks the roaches. I don't have a sword anymore and can't get one back, but I'm totally safe, and can just have the Fagundo do the rest of my work. And that's that room. So that's one of the easier ones, but I thought it was pretty good, so I left it in there. This one's a little bit heavy on the execution. There's a challenge. Don't drop any trapdoors. So the idea here is that Fagundo has to navigate through these watery passages, which have turns that are too tight for it to make normally. So, you know, you can try to do this, but then your Fagundo falls in the water, and there's no way to make that tight turn without some sort of additional assistance. The additional assistance comes from Bithro stepping in this shallow water. The reason the trapdoors are there, and it's a challenge not to step on them, is because you have to get real close to this water skipper nest to do the work here. And, let's see. Kind of fiddly to get this all set up the ideal way. If I do this, right, then I can make that kill, step in the water, reorient quicker, step in the water, reorient quicker, and have the Fagundo explode there and be safe. These trapdoors are here because it's a little bit tricky to time that. So I have one sharp turn here and one there that I need to make. So usually this ends up being, I just want to sort of wait around here until the timing lines up perfectly. Because these two are in different phases, they will change their timings as I wait here, relative to each other. This should be good enough. So I can make that sharp turn, and have enough time to turn and kill the water skipper. Alright, so that orb opened this. Second passage is easier than the first, but I still have to get out of the first passage again. So once again, wait for the timing to line up. I want to basically be like turning and killing this water skipper kind of on the same turn that I do that. I don't need to do this. See now, and here's where the trapdoors would come in. Like, I have nowhere to step that this water skipper wouldn't kill me other than here. Unless I change the timing a bit. So that's how you would not get the challenge. So I'm just going to wait here for a moment until now. That's pretty much perfect. And then that's just enough time to do that sort of thing. And I think from here I can just kind of get the Fagundo out, no problem, and step out over here. Ignore the skippers for a moment, though I do need them again. Their patch of water, at least. Because I got more sharp turns to make. There are plenty of force arrows here to just set the Fagundo down and not worry about it. I think from here I can just... yeah, there we go. That lets out the construct, and lets me kill the skipper nest. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to do something. This is something that I think very few players will ever see, but I wanted to put it in, because it makes sense with the sort of theme and story of this level. So, the whole idea here is that you're feeding your Fagundo water skippers, right? Like this one, he'll happily chomp that, but can't solve the room if I do that. So there's this whole nest of water skippers. There was a water skipper nest in a previous room, but it couldn't actually spawn anything on land. But so Fagundo's hungry, let's feed it some water skippers. So there's a little bit of dialogue there. Water skippers in water slip right through the Fagundo's talons. Fagundo's not very good at catching them, actually, even though they're his favorite food. So Beether wants to go for this one instead. So this was very hard to script. It's kind of complicated to detect. Fagundo near water skipper, Fagundo explosion, that only happens once. So if I do that a second time, he won't repeat the dialogue or anything. Other than, like, challenge detection, that's the most complicated scripting in the hold. Whoops. I guess I'm not ready for that yet. I can just restore to that checkpoint. Or this checkpoint, even. There we go. So yeah, I don't know if anyone even has seen that dialogue before, I just showed it there, but it exists. Okay, so Fagundo's out, everything's dead other than this, and room is clear. No safe zone, that's the challenge. So 2 more rooms to go here. This one has a challenge in it, which is very fiddly and annoying, to be honest. I kind of regret putting in this challenge. It just felt like it had to be there. Like, this is one of those things where I made the room. This is about manipulating the serpent to step on 4 different pressure plates to get this roach through here and open the way to the water skipper. I had the disarm token here, and I thought to myself, maybe I can do it without it, and it turns out you can do it. It's just a lot more execution heavy and annoying. So, you know, I think I'll actually skip that challenge for now. If you really want to do some heavy serpent manipulation, that's a place where you can do it. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I was in the editor, I thought, well, is this possible? Yes, it's possible. I guess there has to be a challenge for that. I added these force arrows kind of late as a place to stop the Fagundo if you have a sword, just to make it a little easier, but it's still pretty annoying to do, to be honest. Anyway, so I've hit 1 pressure plate. I have to go for this one next. That has a scroll on it. Serpents don't like to step on scrolls. However, a Fagundo can step on it if I blow up on the serpent's tail. That's the trick. I don't want to kill this serpent because I need it to be sitting in here toggling these doors so the Fagundo can get in there. And of course also to hit this plate. If I were to just have the Fagundo hit this plate now, it dies to the briars right away. Then the briars get killed by the fire traps, so that they won't flood the whole room. However, briars don't grow over serpents. So here's where this gets a little heavy on the serpent manipulation. You have to get it to move west like this. There we go. Much easier disarmed than armed, because like I can't make those sharp turns when I'm armed. Fagundo stops the serpent from being able to move any other direction, so it just keeps on going west till it steps on that plate. Now here, I need to be on the tunnel to get the roach to actually move over there. That's partially true. I can actually have the Fagundo come back and hit this plate again if I miss it the first time, because there's no threat there anymore. Huh. Oh no, I can't actually go in there. Not without some weird trickery with the serpent or something. Anyway, so roaches as far as that. I have to do a similar thing to get the serpent beyond Beethro's movement range over here. It makes it a little bit easier if I break some of this thin ice first. Either that or this can work, just depending on how you want to move the serpent in there. This one might actually be easier, the one I chose there. And with disarmed Beethro, it's much easier to just say, hey, serpent, go that way, break thin ice. Serpent's in a cycle there. And I can just go in here and do my business. If I were armed, I would have to time that carefully to not hit these yet, because that kills the serpent. Hey, I haven't killed that roach yet. I should do that. Alright, roach dies. Orbs are hit, serpent dies, and room is clear. So yeah, like I said, I'm not extremely proud of this challenge. I'm not going to bother doing it just because it ends up being so fiddly and annoying. But for people who like serpent manipulation, that's a place you can do it. So this room. This room has a gel mother, and a fuse encircling the whole thing. Beethro can't go much of anywhere except in this little chamber. So this is all about the Fagundo movement. If you do the obvious and blow up the gel mother, there's also a stalwart here, by the way. You'll see his role in a moment. If you do something like that, bomb blows up, seeding beacon gets activated, and room cannot be cleared. Well, it can be cleared, but when you come back, it's uncleared. So what you have to do here is use this fluff vent here, which is next to a fuse, so it'll start making puffs, and attract a puff using the Fagundo's body to start... Whoa, hey, careful, Mr. Fagundo. Whoa, hey, wait, what? You moved outside of smell range. I thought the Fagundo had actually stopped on the puff and was just sitting there, but no, it was not what I thought I saw. So right, spike traps clean up any gel babies that happen to get away. I can just wait here in the shallow water and move the puff around until it's in the right sort of place for that to happen. What I want to do is create a thin ice bridge for the stalwart, who is released with that, to come here and kill the gel mother. So it just takes a couple of iterations of doing what I did there. If I do it right, I can get 2 puffs here with me. They will be attracted to this water skipper, so Fagundo has to be kind of sort of close to make sure that doesn't happen. So yeah, just a room with a bunch of waiting around, mostly. Get the puffs into position. That's actually not ideal. I want you to move diagonally. And, ooh, actually, that's really not ideal either. Let's do this. So then you can move there, and the gel baby can create thin ice there. And then I have another puff ready to go pretty much for when another gel baby comes. Right to this spot. So if I wait here in the shallow water, the gel baby will go toward the stalwart. That's a way I can align it with the puff. And we have an ice bridge. Then I release the stalwart. There is a component of timing here. He can die on the spike traps and possibly to gel babies if they're timed poorly. But usually he is able to do his job real well here and just kill those. So then just clean up. Fagundo eats water skipper and everything's cool. So that's exit level. Exit room is here. It looks like that. However, we're not quite done here. So remember this secret passage here. I feel like I hid this secret just a little bit too well, but there are some clues to help you find it. There's that force arrow in the wall showing that there is a secret passage there. And there's this green door here. Beethro never has any reason to go down here unless you're looking for secrets. So what you do is this closed, so the seeding beacon can no longer go off. I can light the fuse. Just sort of let the, Fagundo chill out wherever. I'll put him in his cage here, just so he doesn't have to die unnecessarily. And Beethro can go down here. This is a platform that the bomb was on, and you can get to the... Puff wants to kill the stalwart. And now the fluff is growing because I got rid of the fuse. Anyway, use platform to get down here to where the secret room is. This passage here exists only in case you somehow come back to this room after clearing it, because it has a sister green door here. Right, so this room. The only secret on this level. All the secret rooms I made slightly dark and put a little bit of lighting effects in them. There was a similar thing done in the Journey to Rooted Hold 5.0, and I liked it, so I kind of copied what they did there. Anyway, so this room is basically the opposite of what this is. Here you want to build an ice bridge to do stuff. Here you want to destroy an ice bridge, because the water skipper has to get in here. You don't want these to be activated, don't touch those, because then Beethro won't be able to get out of here safely. So destroy ice so water skipper can get in here so that the last killing move can be made to the east of this gate. So in order to do that, there's a Roach Queen down here, and some force arrows for assistance with positioning and stuff. I think at 25 I want to start doing this. This is very open-ended. There are several ways to execute this particular bit of the room. I like to do it this way. And I've actually already messed it up, huh. So I would need... Let's see, so to have the Fagundo line up with the Roach in such a way that I can melt the ice, I can do that. And I kind of only have to do it that way once. You don't have to be too strict about killing all the Roach eggs and stuff, because now there's water here. It acts as a barrier, so the Roach can actually just sit in a place like this and be killed by the Fagundo at its leisure. Which I did in the most inefficient possible way there, pretty much. So yeah, if I let more roaches happen, they're fine. In fact, this might be an efficiency gain, because I can do the... let's see, I can do even better. If I move over here just a bit... Well, I don't have to be crazy efficient about this, but, you know, I can do stuff like, if I can move one earlier... have the Fagundo on the path over here and a Roach there. So I can do that. Have plenty of roaches, perhaps too many roaches. I'm going to get rid of some of these, just so they don't walk across the thin ice and hit that plate. Yeah, so again, open-ended room, lots of ways to do it. This is not a particularly challenging secret room, it's just kind of a thing for fun. Get rid of thin ice. It was a little bit of a challenge to figure out how to make a room about getting rid of thin ice. This was about the best structure I could come up with for that. So that's what I did. Now toward the end here, things change a little bit, because I have to break this ice without causing any problems, you know. This is actually a pattern that I've never used before for this room, and it's working very well. I just devised it right now. Okay, so right, that last little bit of ice is kind of a tricky one. I would like to actually do this differently. I want the water skipper safe. So I'm going to break that bit of thin ice. At this point I can get rid of the Roach Queen, because I have more than enough roaches. Just so I don't have things happening that I need to deal with I don't want to pay attention to. Okay, how's this going to happen? I think coming in from the other angle would be better. So I'm going to put the Fagundo on the path to this. Move the water skipper out of the way first. Turn order doesn't allow that. But I can still do this early, because the roaches will... Oh, but that will kill the Fagundo. So do this. There we go. Thin ice gone. Water skipper can go where it needs to. Roaches can die. Other water skipper can die. And orb can be used. And there we go. That's the secret. And this here is just the return path. So yeah, that's my pet bird. First level I made in the hold. I'm reasonably proud of it. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So once you go up the level end stairs, You get this Fagundo pixel art sort of thing. Clear the room. I had to have this blob of tar here for these tar gates to be to stay active. So right, different colors of gray. Wall, spike trap, obstacle, tar gate. There were a few other shades that I used in other places, but basically I just changed the icons for each one of these things that I get. You get an icon for each level you clear, so you can quickly see what you've done here. Yeah, just converted them to grayscale and rendered them as well as I could with the room elements. So you get some nice mini-map art there. Then all the tunnels lead back here, and you get to have a seat in your chair. Yeah, I can go back there, but it does me no good because there's a force arrow there. So, have a seat in the chair before going on to the next activity. So, next time, Tools of the Trade, weapon level. I'll see you then.